Hello everybody and welcome to the War Room for the UFC 249 co-main event. The bantamweight title on the line between the champ, Triple C, Triple Cringe, and Dominick Cruz, the former champ. This is an interesting one, and I've heard a lot of people kind of dogging on Dominick Cruz a little bit and complaining that he's got this shot above, younger prospects in the division that have, on a bit of a win streak. The reality is, Dominick Cruz has been a champion, and he's been at the top of his game, at the top of the game for a long time. He's got a great mind as well. And, some fighters respond really well to time away, to that frustration. And I can imagine that Dominick Cruz sitting octagon side, watching everybody else compete and not being able to is, it's motivating for him. And, the times in his career when we've seen him away from the octagon for a period of time, he's always looked good when he came back as well. So I have no reason to believe that he's not going to come in and be a great version of himself. The other thing as well is we don't know much about Henry Cejudo as a bantamweight. Much like, having Zhang Weili fight Joanna to validate her as a champion, or in fact replace her and, take the championship belt away. What we're doing is we're taking the new bantamweight champion that has achieved very little in the division and going, okay, here's the former champion. Let's see how you compare against him. And, it's gonna validate Henry Cejudo in a lot of people's eyes if he beats Dominick Cruz. Not only because Cruz is a former champion, but because he's a good analyst as well. He's got a good mind, And Cejudo is a smart athlete. He's an intelligent fighter. And he's a very, very well, respected and credentialed athlete as well. So I think it's an interesting fight. I think there are quite a few talking points. Most of them are around footwork, to be honest. So, if you're a big fan of footwork, then this is going to be a fight for you. So, as we know, Dominick Cruz, he's got that kind of high on his toes. He's bouncing around, he's moving around, he's switching his stance, he's dancing his way in, he throws a few punches, he dances out, throws a few punches. He's got a very unusual style. I mean, I've watched him shadowbox in a few gyms in Vegas, and it's fascinating because nobody else boxes like him. But, when he's fighting, it's very difficult for people to pin him down. It gets very frustrating for people, and they start to chase him, and that leaves them overexposed. Very rare does it fail. It failed against Cody Garbrandt because he got frustrated. I would say his first loss as well to Uriah Faber was partly out of frustration because Faber was the superstar at the time, and Cruz was, he was coming up to take his place and very much felt like he should be the champ. And I just think, there were a lot of things about Uriah Faber that wound Dominick Cruz up, which persisted through his career and I think motivated him in a lot of ways. With Cody Garbrandt, I think that was the second layer of that animosity towards Uriah Faber, and I think that there was some frustrations coming out there. And I'm not saying that he's not going to be frustrated with Henry Cejudo, because Cejudo is the kind of guy that does irritate people. I mean, he's got an abrasive character, especially with this the King of Cringe thing that he's playing. That's the kind of thing that would get under Dominick Cruz's skin, and he wouldn't be able to separate from it. So it could be very frustrated for him. He might not be able to settle into a comfortable game plan where he's taking his time and he's dictating the footwork and the pace of the fight, working his jab, dancing around people. He might go looking for Henry Cejudo out of frustration, and that would be a bad idea because, Cejudo's wrestling is outstanding. As good as Dominick Cruz's wrestling is, I feel like whatever problems Cejudo meets in the wrestling exchanges, he will adapt to. I say that from the Demetrius Johnson fight. I mean, there were a series of takedowns in that fight that flowed on quite nicely. If you cut out all the fight in between and you just put the takedown attempts between, you can see the adjustment that he made. The first takedown worked really well. He got Demetrius Johnson down. Johnson was back to his feet. He goes for the takedown again, and Johnson's made the adaptation. So then the next time around, Cejudo makes a further adaptation to finish the takedown. He has his understanding of wrestling it's a fundamental understanding. It's not a technical understanding. And I don't want to get too far into the philosophy of it, but this is where at the start of Enter the Dragon, where Bruce Lee's talking about, when the time comes, I don't hit, it hits all by itself. That's a fundamental understanding of fighting as opposed to a technical one. It takes out a decision-making process in between. So, if I shoot for a double leg and this guy sprawls, I don't need to, and this is, I'm speaking from experience, because I don't have a fundamental understanding of wrestling. I have a technical understanding, which means that I have to choose the next technique to work in the chain that I'm using. Henry Cejudo knows how to dismantle a human being's balance. It's a very different understanding, because you understand what they're relying on to keep them standing, so you can remove those posts. I would have to think about the technique that I would use to remove that post, whereas Cejudo, it's second nature to him. So as good as Dominick Cruz has been in lots of scrambles and in lots of wrestling exchanges, I feel ultimately if they continue to scramble, Cejudo will come out on top. I also feel like he's got a good physicality, a good presence for this division, and I feel like he's probably a better athlete all round as far as explosiveness, punching power. Because I mean, like Cruz is fantastic at what he does. His gas tank is excellent, but he's a marathon runner. I mean, like there's a lot of 5.5s on his record. A lot of 5.5s. There's that one stoppage over Mizugaki. You know, he's not knocking out top opponents. You know, he's not bettering guys. And Henry Cejudo took wicked shots from Marlon Moraes, and Moraes can crack. Moraes can hurt people, especially with his kicks. And I would say Cejudo took some big shots from Moraes and kept going, and was able to wear him down and get his own stoppage. I think Cejudo will be able to take shots from Cruz. I think as long as he doesn't get frustrated and start to chase and get outpointed like Dillashaw did, I think this is Cejudo's fight to win. It doesn't mean it's not going to be a hard-fought battle, because it absolutely will be, because Dominick Cruz is difficult to pin down for everybody. But this is all about footwork. This is all about decision-making, who can keep their cool, which obviously influences decision-making, and then how they control the space with their footwork. Like Dominick Cruz, he's always going to look to kind of do that, like that half circle, that semicircle around your front foot. The reason he likes to do that is because he uses this kind of, I've been trying to think of a word for it because of the way his body moves. It's almost like a slingshot move. Like you've seen Talladega Nights. You know how Ricky Bobby and what's his name use that move. They've got the Raptors laughing here. He uses that move to like slingshot. You know, like he pulls in front of his opponent, then he breaks, and then the other guy comes around the side. It's a weird analogy. My brain works in these weird ways. But the way that Cruz shifts his weight from one side to another, what you'll tend to see him do is as he's moving from, say he's moving from right to left, he'll shift across and then he'll throw the punch as he moves across to make the most of that momentum shift as he moves. Like he was doing it a lot to Dillashaw. He was skipping around his front foot and then digging him with a right to the body. Does it really well on both sides as well. Very difficult to pin him down and understand exactly what's coming next. Because his movement patterns do seem quite erratic. It's easier to predict when you take options away from someone, though, and with Cejudo and the way that he cuts the octagon down, I feel like he can very much start to limit what Dominick Cruz is doing, and start to also predict which direction he's going to move. There are similarities between the footwork that Cejudo's adopted and what they do at Alpha Male. What we've seen work against Dominick Cruz, what we've seen to be effective even in the Dillashaw fight, because Dillashaw is very good at switching his stance as he moves forward, stepping through and punching, and Cejudo does that very well. He starts off with that long range karate stance, kind of measuring distance with that, but that's much more of a read-in position. It's a safe stance for him to stand in, so he can move away, move forward if he needs to, and also he's got a long guard there if he needs to keep somebody back. When he starts being more aggressive, you'll see him square up a little bit more, and then he starts to step through with his punches, and that's when he starts to catch people on the ends of his combinations. I'll say it again. It's all about footwork. It's all about Cejudo taking the octagon away from Cruz slowly, and Cruz trying to find space around Cejudo where he can keep moving and keep peppering him. In the wrestling exchanges, I think Cejudo will probably have the edge, but then, who knows what Dominick Cruz is going to pull out of the bag. I think it's a fascinating fight. It wouldn't surprise me if Cruz comes in and gets the upset, but I think Cejudo is the one to give this fight away. I think at the moment he's right at the top of his game. I'm excited to see him tested though by the old champ. Anyway, enjoy the fights. Catch you next time.